Lucas Miller, 42, lived alone in a cramped apartment on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. The apartment was on the third floor of an old mold-stained building where rats occasionally scurried by. He had once been a successful financial analyst with a high income and a happy family, but everything had collapsed. 4 years ago, Lucas lost his job after an internal lawsuit at the company. Not long after, he fell into debt due to a failed investment in a medical startup. When the bank foreclosed on their home, his wife Rachel couldn't take it anymore and filed for divorce. His son Noah, who was just 9 at the time, moved with her to Chicago. At first, Noah still messaged him every week. But after Lucas once lashed out drunkenly over the phone, the boy stopped calling altogether. Lucas sank into despair. He lived on unemployment checks and occasionally made small stock bets to survive. But he knew he had no real goal anymore. Every night, he sat in front of his computer, reviewing old stock charts. He could recall every crash and surge of tickers like AAPL, AMZN, TSLA. But sadly, those were all in the past, and he had taken no action. He wasn't afraid of dying. He only wished for one chance, just one, to go back and start over, armed with everything he knew now. Meeting Trader Zero on a cold, rainy night in February, Lucas wandered into an old bar called Second Round, a place he used to frequent during college. The bar was nearly empty, lit by dim yellow lights and playing slow jazz. While nursing his third whiskey, an older man sat across from him. The man wore a black suit that somehow remained dry despite the downpour outside. His face was cold, his eyes deep and unblinking. "You're full of regrets," the man said. "I know, but regrets don't help. Opportunity only comes to those willing to trade something." Lucas frowned. "Who are you?" The man introduced himself as Trader Zero. He didn't explain much. He simply pulled out a wooden box from his coat. Inside was a vintage Swiss watch with an extra dial showing years and a strange button on the side. "Do you want to go back to the time when you could change it all? Say 2008? Lucas scoffed. "You've had too much to drink." But Trader Zero didn't leave. He just said, "At exactly 3:33 a.m., press the side button. But remember, once you cross over, there's no way back." Lucas took the watch home. Around midnight, after finishing half a bottle of whiskey, he stared at it. At 3:33 sharp, he pressed the button. Back to 2008, Lucas woke with a splitting headache, sat up in a room that felt unfamiliar, yet somehow known. Cream-colored walls, a double bed, light blue curtains. Then came a voice from the bathroom. "You're up early?" It was Rachel, his wife. Lucas stepped out of the room, his heart pounding. On the table lay a newspaper, September 14th, 2008. He turned on the TV, just in time to hear the news anchor. "Lehman Brothers on the brink of collapse. ... His whole body trembled. He was back, truly back. Beginning the wealth plan, in the weeks that followed, Lucas began crafting a meticulous plan. Sold his old car, emptied his savings, borrowed from friends to gather about $40,000. Opened an investment account under a false name, dividing the money into key stocks. Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, and other emerging tech stocks. Memorized the exact dates when the market would crash and when it would recover. secretly created a Bitcoin wallet and began mining from his garage with an old laptop. At the same time, Lucas began purchasing dirt-cheap real estate in the Austin suburbs, areas he knew would become tech development hubs in the next decade. He kept everything from Rachel, but she noticed. Her husband was growing increasingly busy, secretive, and distant. Family dinners became rare. Noah, then only 7, began asking, "Why don't you read me stories anymore, Dad?" Lucas only smiled, patted his son's head, and returned to his computer. An empire built on future knowledge. After returning to 2008, Lucas didn't rush to get rich like a madman. He knew true success wasn't about speed, but about timing. With a memory full of key historical events and market shifts, he began a calculated journey to become the richest man no one knew existed. Stock's the game of the forewarned. Lucas started with what he knew best, the stock market. But this time, no guessing. He invested based on first-hand knowledge of the future. He knew exactly when the market would collapse and when it would rebound. He knew which companies would skyrocket and which were just hype. Firms that were nobodies back then would soon dominate the world. He patiently accumulated undervalued stocks and sold them quietly at their peaks. Every move was eerily accurate. Within a few years, whispers of a mysterious investment genius spread in financial circles. Bitcoin, treasure for the ahead of time. Nobody trusted cryptocurrency back then, except Lucas. While the world debated whether Bitcoin was a scam, he silently mined, encrypted, and stored vast amounts. He didn't need to convince anyone. He told no one. He simply amassed a fortune, knowing one day the world would bow to decentralized finance. For Lucas, Bitcoin wasn't just an investment. It was a safety net, a last resort if everything else failed. Real estate. Buying what others couldn't see, Lucas didn't chase popular trends. He sought abandoned lands, overlooked suburbs, homes others deemed worthless. He had seen the future. He knew these areas would become hotspots, home to tech giants, flooded with people and new infrastructure. Each time he signed for a property others mocked, Lucas smiled. "You're seeing the present. I'm remembering the future." Stealth control. No one knows his name. Lucas knew one truth. True power lies in how rich you are without anyone knowing who you are. He owned nothing in his name. No mansions, no luxury cars, no flashy lifestyle. Everything hid behind shell companies, trusts, and carefully chosen legal proxies. Even those working directly with him knew only fragments of the bigger picture. No one could piece it all together, except him. Built a network even governments would struggle to trace. Who's the spider at the center of the web? Hidden, controlling, leaving no trace. Influence expands from finance to politics. As his wealth multiplied, Lucas began funding community projects, scholarships, and startups, all anonymously. Every dollar served one purpose: extending influence. He secretly backed local political candidates, invested in startups he knew would shape the future, channeled money into AI, biotech, and space ventures. He was no longer just watching the market, he was shaping it. Meanwhile, as family drifted further away, Rachel sensed her husband was no longer the man she married. He was physically there, but mentally absent. He no longer asked what their son had learned, no longer touched her shoulder when she was tired. Noah stopped talking about school. He no longer showed his drawings. no longer waited for his dad each night, Lucas knew. But he also knew, once you start climbing, looking back might make you fall. A voice inside him whispered, "Just a few more years. When it's all done, I'll go back to them." But deep down, he knew he never would. One night, as Lucas sat alone in his office atop Orion Holdings, watching the city lights below, a familiar shadow appeared at the door. Trader Zero. Over a decade had passed, but the man looked the same. Black suit, eyes that pierced through time. Lucas wasn't surprised. He had expected this. "You've gone further than anyone I've ever seen," Trader Zero said coldly. "But now you must choose." He placed 2 sealed envelopes on the desk. One read, "Return to the present." The other, "Remain in the past." Trader Zero explained, "If you return, all you've built will vanish. But you'll get to start again, this time with your own hands. If you stay, you'll continue ruling this world, but your family will remain forever out of reach." Lucas was silent, staring at the envelopes, as if staring at 2 destinies. The next morning, at a private airstrip 30 minutes outside the city, Rachel held Noah's hand as they boarded a small plane. She had decided to leave Texas, and Lucas for good. From a distance, Lucas sat inside a parked car, watching. He could step out, call them back, tell Rachel he'd give it all up, but he didn't. He just watched, saying nothing. The plane took off, rising into the clear blue sky. And in that moment, Lucas knew he had chosen to stay.